Always appreciate what you have today because you may not have it tomorrow. This is what PewDiePie has been taught in the past. Meanwhile, PewDiePie has been enjoying his life for the past year. He created many new structures like the giant meatball, the water sheep chapel, the stable, and sadly more memorial sites. But PewDiePie has not let the passing of his other animals hurt him like before, because he was just happy to have Sven back after being attacked by the zombie horde. Since then, not one zombie horde has come for their land again. It appeared that PewDiePie scared them off for good with his trap in the last attack. Sven even found a mate, so PewDiePie now had 2 dogs. They went on many fun adventures together. PewDiePie had never been so pleased with his life. One day he came out of his house and he noticed that Sven's mate had been acting weird. PewDiePie wondered if she was sick. I can't lose another dog, he thought. PewDiePie had not felt like this since Sven's death, but why did he not feel this way with the passing of all his other animals? PewDiePie realized that he had a soft spot for dogs, because they're the only animal in the Minecraft world who would fight right by his side to protect him. PewDiePie had a special bond with his dogs, and he could not bear the thought of losing either of them again. So PewDiePie watched the dog, and he desperately hoped she was okay. Eventually, he had to go to sleep, so he went to bed, hoping she would still be alive when he woke up. PewDiePie woke up eagerly, and he ran to the window to see if she was still okay. He saw both dogs, but he saw something else, something much smaller. He ran outside and saw that she had a puppy. Sven was now a father. PewDiePie jumped around with excitement. Now Sven had a son. While he was running around in excitement, he heard a noise that he had not heard in a long time. He heard a groaning sound and lots of footsteps. Was it a bunch of tired villagers coming for a place to stay, he thought? He ran back behind his house to see a massive horde of zombies, bigger than ever. The reason PewDiePie had not seen zombies in the past year was because they were building an army to get revenge on PewDiePie. He did not know what to do. It was all so sudden. He remembered that Sven and his family were still in the pen, so he knew if he wanted to keep them safe, he had to fight the horde on his own. As he began fighting, he heard Sven come out to his rescue. Sven joined in on the fight. PewDiePie was confused because he thought he closed their pen up, but he had no time to think. They had to continue fighting the horde. During the fight, Sven took damage, but he survived somehow. They fought into the morning, and finally the sun started to come out and burn the zombies. PewDiePie and Sven were relieved as they all melted away. They ran back up to check on the pen to see if Sven's family was still there. As PewDiePie ran down through his yard, he saw the pen was empty. But how could this be? He remembered that he left the pen open, and that was how Sven got out to help PewDiePie in this battle. He looked for them because he knew they must have been hiding. Sven followed him around as they searched for his family. It started to set in. PewDiePie became terrified because he thought they were both gone for good, until he heard a bark. It was Sven's mate. They ran towards the sound, and they saw her by herself up on a hill in a different pen. They thought it was weird and that maybe the zombie army put her there to come back for her later since the sun came out. As they ran towards the pen, PewDiePie hit a tripwire, and the ground under Lady Sven came out from under her, and she fell into a pit of lava. PewDiePie screamed in horror, and Sven was deeply hurt. Sven couldn't accept what just happened. He thought there was no way that she just passed away right in front of him. She must have still been alive somehow, Sven thought. They both mourned for their loss. PewDiePie noticed a sign near this trap, and on this sign it said that Sven's son was still alive. But until they surrender their land, they may not have him back. PewDiePie and Sven had hope because his son was still alive, but how could they get him back without surrendering all they have? So they ran home and made a burial site for Lady Sven. They mourned more, and they decided that it was time to stop mourning, and that Lady Sven wouldn't want them in their sorrows any longer. PewDiePie came to a realization. He could just time travel again. So he told Sven about this idea. PewDiePie's plan was to go back into time again with Sven to replace their past selves in order that they may be more prepared for this epic battle. So they ran to the villager's house. They ran through the Great Plain, and at last the building was in sight. But something did not look quite right. They saw smoke, and the buildings appeared to be destroyed. As they got closer, they saw that the time machine was broken. They searched for the villager, and they found him in a hole in the ground, hiding. They helped the villager out and asked him what happened. The villager said that he was attacked by a massive zombie army just a few days ago. PewDiePie told him what happened to them and how Sven's mate had passed and his son was kidnapped. The villager was hurt to hear that. The villager told them that he had a plan, but he needed their help once again because he was too old to fight. So the villager began to explain his plan to get rid of the army once and for all to save Sven's son. There are 3 major zombie outposts surrounding the land: the desert outpost, the jungle outpost, and the water outpost. If you want this to end once and for all, you will need to destroy all of these, the villager said. PewDiePie laughed because he knew that he could not do this on his own, or even with Sven's help. The villager already knew this, so he gave him a sword. PewDiePie took the sword and said, "How would this help me against that many zombies?" The villager explained that this was not just any sword. The sword had magical powers, and the sword was used in many great battles in the past, and every ruler who had used this sword had won their battles. The villager reminded PewDiePie that there's no time to waste and that he must destroy them before they got tired of Sven's puppy. So they ran into the field in search of the first outpost, the desert outpost. It did not take long to find this outpost. It was fairly close to the villager's house, which was probably why it got raided. They tried to come up with a plan. They noticed that the entire base was built out of wool, which was interesting because wool burns very easily. So PewDiePie and Sven slowly snuck up on the outpost. They started to hear the groaning of zombies get louder and louder. They both were terrified, but they knew it had to be done. Before they began to burn the place down, Sven barked, hoping for a response to see if his puppy was taken there. But Sven heard nothing back, so PewDiePie pulled out some flint and steel and began lighting the base on fire. It lit up fast and he started to hear zombies groan as they burned. The building started to fall apart, so zombies started fleeing the burning building, but they did not last long as the sun came out. But now the zombies had nowhere to hide from the sun, so they all melted away. PewDiePie was relieved that their plan worked. He did not even have to use his magical sword, so they left the destroyed outpost in search of the jungle outpost. They ran out of the desert and through a few forests, and they finally reached the jungle where they believed the next outpost was. They searched for a while. Since this outpost was in the jungle, it was more hidden than the desert outpost. They kept searching and searching until finally they found a wall with a small, dark doorway. They peeked their heads near it and they could smell the rotten flesh of the zombies. This outpost was more complicated. They could not just burn it down, so it was time PewDiePie would have to use his sword. Before they went into the outpost to battle the zombies, Sven barked again, hoping to hear a response back, but once again he heard nothing. So they ran into the base and found a massive room full of zombies. They snuck into the back of the room and it was time to battle the horde. PewDiePie ran into the crowd of zombies and started hitting them. He noticed that this sword did indeed have great powers. It lit the zombies on fire when he hit him. PewDiePie fought for a long time, but he eventually noticed the room was now empty. The sword was indeed magical. They looked around to make sure the puppy was not there. The only thing they found was a chest, so PewDiePie opened the chest to notice that there was a golden apple. This was perfect because he would need this to battle the final outpost. So they ran out of the now empty outpost and ran towards the Great Sea. They ran out of the jungle and they got into boats and traveled a great distance through the sea. Finally, they could see something out in the middle of the water. This outpost was much bigger. PewDiePie was frightened. Even with his magical sword and Sven by his side, this would be a difficult battle, most likely ending in failure. But this did not stop him in the past, so they got out of their boats and snuck around the base. Sven barked again, hoping for a response, but there was silence. But then they heard something. It was quiet, but they could hear a faint bark. The zombies started to groan as soon as they heard this. PewDiePie and Sven were caught by the zombie horde, so they were forced to battle them with no time to plan. PewDiePie saw a ladder and he climbed up into the base. He told Sven to look for his son while he snuck around the base to silently slay the zombies one by one. PewDiePie ate his golden apple to prepare himself. He went into the top of their base and he ran into a hallway, and he heard a zombie at the end. So he snuck around the corner and used his crossbow on the zombie. One down, he thought, countless to go. He went around corner after corner, repeating this process until he was in the heart of their base. He could see all of the zombies in a big room. It was dark, but the ceiling was covered in glass. Above this glass, there was lava to line up their base a little. PewDiePie thought for a second and if he could quickly break some of the glass above, the lava could fall down onto the horde of zombies, ending this once and for all. The only issue was that lava falls too slowly, and they could easily escape the room. So PewDiePie snuck around and slowly blocked each door with blocks, so that the zombie horde was trapped in this room. Finally, all of the zombies were trapped, and they did not even know it. PewDiePie went back up to the balcony and began destroying glass. Lava started to flow down onto the horde, and there was chaos since they could not get out. As this happened, PewDiePie saw Sven across the room. Apparently Sven had found his puppy, so PewDiePie followed Sven down the hallway until they found the cell in which Sven's son had been kept. PewDiePie broke the iron bars and they were finally reunited. Sven was happy and so was PewDiePie, but they knew they had to get out quickly because the building was overflowing with lava and burning zombies. So they ran out and noticed that the stairs out were blocked by lava. The lava pool above was bigger than PewDiePie thought, and it began to overfill the entire room. They had to find another way out, so they kept exploring all of the hallways. One by one they checked, but they all had lava flowing into the ends of them. PewDiePie thought for a minute, and he realized that they were all going to be melted away if they could not find a way out. He was terrified and did not know what to do. During this, they heard a noise above, and zombies started pouring down into the room through a hole. And right after that, zombies came through a hallway. PewDiePie used his sword to protect them. He was able to slay them all, but they were still trapped. Then PewDiePie realized that in order for zombies to come through that hallway, there must be an exit right after the lava. It would hurt, but theoretically, they could get through the lava without losing all of their health. So PewDiePie volunteered to go through first. He ran into the lava and it burned and hurt terribly, but there was a way out. So he escaped. He yelled to Sven and told him to send his pup next. The puppy ran through and received damage, but he survived. They were almost all out. Now Sven just had to escape. Sven ran in and halfway through, he fell into the lava and disappeared. PewDiePie cried as he saw this. He was broken. Because of the battle, Sven took too much damage from the zombies to make it through the lava. PewDiePie had no time to remorse. He took the puppy and left the outpost. He defeated the zombies once and for all, but he was broken still. He made his way back home and took care of the puppy. He named him Sven Jr. PewDiePie was still broken, but he did not want to dwell on what had happened to him. He wanted to move on and appreciate what Sven had given him. So he built a memorial site for Sven and remembered the great times Sven gave him. He went back to Sven Jr. and he smiled because he did not lose everything. PewDiePie continued to build up his land with his new loyal companion, Sven Jr. Life was back to normal and PewDiePie was finally at peace. Again, always appreciate what you have today because you may not have it tomorrow.